Next up on the list of news that I really didn't think I would see back when I was 14 years old in 2014. Let's talk today about Sean Day, a New York Rangers prospect, I guess? Well, not really prospect anymore, who has just been placed on waivers with the intention of buying out his contract. Now, who exactly is Sean Day? Well, he's a guy who, back when I was 14, 15, 13 years old, I thought was very, very good. So good to the point where a lot of people were thinking that this guy could become a Connor McDavid-like asset in the NHL. Now, of course, he's not that. He's not McDavid. Not anybody is McDavid aside from McDavid. But Sean Day is a guy who a lot of people were extraordinarily hyped for a very big majority of the 21st century. So why exactly was that, and how exactly did we get here to the point where he is a New York Rangers guy who was all of a sudden on waivers with the intention of having his contract bought out? Well, Sean Day is a Belgian-born hockey player who currently lists at 6'2", 227 pounds. He was a guy who, back when he was 14, played for the CompuWare U16 midget hockey team in the US of A. And he was good. Pretty good, not amazing, but he had a really interesting skill set, so much to the point that the OHL granted Sean Day exceptional status, allowing him to step into the CHL at 15 years of age instead of being 16. There were only 3 other players in the past at this time who had been granted exceptional status, and all of them were really good players: Aaron Ekblad, John Tavares, Connor McDavid. But Sean Day was a guy who would break that mold, not as a really good offensively sound two-way defenseman like Aaron Ekblad was, but as an absolutely dynamic offensive D-man. He was a guy who could skate like the wind. He had a really big frame, and for some reason, even though he was big, he was heavy, and he was tough to get around, he was a guy whose skating was so elite that many people said back when he was 15 that his skating was as close to pro-level skating in a 15-year-old we have ever seen. And that was in comparison to guys like Connor McDavid. So, Sean Day gets exceptional status. He gets drafted not first overall, but instead he gets drafted 4th in the OHL Entry Draft, which was a very big break because every single other exceptional status pick had been drafted 1st overall in his entry draft, and that has continued even past Sean Day with Joe Veleno, with Connor Bedard, and with Shane Wright. But Sean Day never really found himself in a position where his statistical profile reflected the status that he was given. And in fact, people were kind of wondering what's going on with this guy, because as the years went on, he didn't really start putting up a crazy amount of points, and he ended up spending time on 3 different OHL teams before stepping into the Hartford Wolf Pack of the AHL. He was drafted in the 2016 NHL Entry Draft, and before this year came along, I remember people like Jeff Merrick were saying that Sean Day had the potential to go 1st, maybe even 2nd overall in the draft, but a poor draft year showcased by the defenseman dropped him all the way down to the 3rd round, where he was picked off by the New York Rangers 81st overall. In his draft year, problems such as his commitment, his consistency, and his decision-making all played a part as to why he ended up going so late. The end of this scouting report kind of goes over the best of it right here. Sean Day will return to the OHL for 1 more season next year, and his size, skating, and smarts will transition just fine into the NHL, eventually making him a solid top 4 minute-munching defender like Jay Bouwmeester. This is all based off of his honestly pretty okay offensive instincts, his skating, and his size. But as the years went on, Sean Day never really was able to make that transition. Here's a scouting report from 2019 on Dobber prospects. Sean Day continues to struggle to justify his 2016 third-round draft pick. After splitting his rookie pro campaign between the Rangers AHL and ECHL affiliates, the D-man has yet to show much indication that he is anywhere near ready for taking the next step. Long-term, his projections as even a depth option at the NHL level are dwindling. A full campaign with the new and improved Hartford Wolf Pack will go a long way towards either confirming or reversing that sentiment. Well, Sean Day just wrapped up another year with the ECHL and the AHL, and now he is on waivers with the purpose of being terminated. So where did things go wrong? What exactly happened to Sean Day, and why exactly has this narrative built up that Sean Day has the tools, but not the hands to use those tools properly? While I was going over it and taking a look at some previous articles and old Reddit posts and stuff, I wanted to take a look at this post right here from 4 years ago. What happened to Sean Day's hype for the 2016 NHL Draft? There's a comment here from a user named Medkit that was posted 4 years ago back in 2016 that I think really sums up where exactly things kind of went wrong with Sean Day. This comment was made 4 years ago in 2016, most likely before he was even drafted. Sean Day looks totally lost out there. One of the best skaters you'll ever see. Even weighing 250 pounds, his legs must be jacked. But as Chris Pronger said, positioning is 9/10 of the law, and he's a major offender. Lots of dumb pinches and slow reads. Bad decisions with the puck leading to bad turnovers. Massive minuses every year so far that would make Ovechkin blush. However, what would you expect out of a 15 and 16-year-old in the OHL? He's still putting up some points. He's all tools and potential right now. Offensively, I think he can be a solid pro. He passes and shoots well. But defensively, the jury is out. He's also out of shape and needs to change that. I expect him to go late first depending on how the season goes for him, but he's not really someone I'd be happy with my team drafting. He actually needs to develop to get higher than that. And this was in 2016. So with the way that Sean Day has been progressing throughout the years, where he went from OHL to AHL to ECHL to AHL, back to ECHL, with the Dauber prospect scouting reports that we have been seeing from 2016 to 17 to 19, and with the contract termination that we have today, it's very apparent that Sean Day just wasn't in the right headspace to become a proper NHL-like prospect. Sure, he had a ton of hype back when he was granted exceptional status in 2013. People saw Connor McDavid and John Tavares and said, man, this guy is in the same class as those players. But may I just use this opportunity as a reminder that exceptional status in the CHL doesn't necessarily mean franchise talent. Exceptional status doesn't mean Connor McDavid. Exceptional status doesn't mean Sidney Crosby. In fact, Crosby didn't have exceptional status. That wasn't a thing back when he played. But exceptional status means instead that as a 15-year-old, this player is good enough to play in the CHL now rather than waiting until they're 16 to start playing. Andy LaHoo made this point back in his Joe Veleno video in 2018 that Joe Veleno was a guy who wasn't granted exceptional status because he is a franchise talent, but because he was just so good at everything when he was 15 that his skills transcended the barrier of becoming a 16-year-old to play in the QMJHL. He was ready, and he was so good so early on that they allowed him to do that. Sean Day was in a position where his number one trait was his mobility. And his mobility combined with his size was a very unique combo that allowed people to say, yeah, this guy's a big guy who can skate like the wind. How do we not allow this guy to play in the OHL when he is only 15? He didn't get the points, and from the way that these scouting reports are looking like, he didn't have the commitment nor the consistency to actually be valued as a legit NHL prospect. But the skating and that talent alone was so good that it pushed the OHL into saying, yeah, you can be given exceptional status. You're ready. And I think to me, in some form or another, that could be seen as a big pushback. This is going into my own personal speculation, but imagine the big ego boost that you could get upon being granted exceptional status. Not everybody who is being given that status would deal with it the right way. And to me, Sean Day is a player who just didn't use the pressure, the status, and the label of being in the same vein as Connor McDavid to the best of his abilities. Scouting reports label how he slacked off, and how he wasn't consistent, and how he didn't work towards building that game. And ultimately now, it looks like his pro playing days in North America may be over. So that was our look here at Sean Day. I hope you enjoyed this video. So that Trost 99 and bye.